Tuesday, May 13th, in the year of our Lord 2025. And Democrat lawmakers have engaged in an insurrection. Of course, they won't call it that, but that's what happened. And as usual, they lie and they obfuscate the truth. And woke corporations are doubling and tripling down on their delusion. And so we got that. Things are trending in the right direction for the American family, believe it or not. And President Trump has signed another executive order, and it's one that we should all absolutely 100% applaud. So we got all of that and a whole lot more coming up, but thank you for joining us here on the SHR Media Network for the briefing. And you can follow the show on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Truth Social. And for our merch, head over to missionreadymen.com, click on Shop 7 Armors, and check out this design and all the other great designs that we have over there. All right, y'all, we got a lot to get to. So now that business is out of the way, let's go ahead and get after it. All right, real quick, I didn't want to, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, even though it is a fantastic story. But I haven't really done a huge deep dive into this particular one, even though we all know the basics. But Trump has secured the release of the last American hostage taken by Hamas, Adnan Alexander, and that is fantastic, absolutely fantastic news. I believe that's the 48th hostage that he's secured since he's been in office, since he took office 4 months ago. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. And he didn't trade war criminals and arms dealers for any of them. So, I mean, that's fantastic. All we needed was a new president. That's all we needed. And of course, the president, China, and ended the trade, or at least put a pause on the trade war. The left was all up in arms about the 145% tariffs that we put on China, and that poor Americans were going to end up taking the brunt of that, and inflation was going to soar, the stock market was going to tank. And when the stock market dipped, obviously they whined and complained he was tanking the economy, blah, 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 and claimed that he was flailing economically, had no plan, and was just doing things willy-nilly. And when he said he was going to consider lowering the tariffs, they said that he was caving to China. But they don't tell you everything that's going on with China. And it turns out China caved. China came to the table, and China bent the knee, because what was going on over there was unsustainable. The American president would never tell anyone in this country how badly things were going over in China. And so Xi Jinping had no choice but to capitulate and bend the knee. And so we'll probably do a deeper dive into that the next time, but I wanted to get that out of the way. And I also wanted to mention today is the birthday of a very good friend of mine who passed away last year, almost a year ago. And I just wanted to take a minute to remember him. His name was Scott, and he died from cancer. So I pray that I get to see him again in heaven. But until then, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I know that you enjoyed these shows, so I'm going to dedicate this one to him. All right. On May 9th last week, New Jersey Democrat lawmakers, the mayor of Newark, and Democrat lawmakers Representative LaMonica McIver, Bonnie Watson Coleman, and Rob Menendez Jr., who happens to be the son of disgraced Senator Bob Menendez, who was convicted of all kinds of felonies. I don't know if he's actually in prison yet, but he will be. And Mayor Ras Baraka. They tried to storm an ICE facility it wasn't actually in Newark, so Ras Baraka wasn't even in the city where he was elected. But they attempted to storm the Delaney Hall ICE Detention Center, and this detention center houses all manner of evil criminals, murderers, terrorists, MS-13 gang members, which is the same thing now, and child rapists. So these are the people that they want to release. Is that what they're telling us? They want these people released from ICE custody? Interesting. But they tried to storm this facility in an unannounced visit, which eventually escalated into physical altercations with ICE agents. And of course, they claimed that they were there for legitimate reasons and lied and said that nothing happened and that everything that the ICE agents and everything, all of that was a lie. None of what they did happen. They were there peacefully, and I guess according to their definition, patriotically protesting. But the cameras tell a different story. And well, let's just take a look at what actually happened that day, and see if you can figure out what went on. Because I suspect that the people involved were lying. That person in the red is obviously assaulting ICE agents. Yeah. That woman in the red was LaMonica McIver, the representative. And she claims that she did nothing wrong. And that clip was from Homeland Security. And they obviously have a different idea of what went on that day. And I mean, it clearly shows that she was verbally assaulting ICE agents, pushing, shoving, elbowing. And there was one instance where it looked like she threw a punch. And there are allegations that someone got body slammed. I don't know that she did that. She was assaulting them with her hands and elbows. And the DHS spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin, said that other arrests are on the table because Ras Baraka, the mayor of Newark, got arrested in that confrontation. And they claim that they were there doing legitimate oversight, and they had every right to be there. And by denying them access, which actually didn't happen because after the whole fracas was over, they actually went on a tour of the facility. So there's that. But they claim that that by denying them access, they're the ones who broke the law. The DHS and ICE agents are the ones who broke the law. But turns out that's not really true. Of course it's not really true, because whenever the left is speaking, whenever their lips are moving, they're lying. But here is the guidelines that DHS actually released. And they broke the rules. And I'm going to show you here in a second that they broke the law as well. But this is the there's a couple of pages, but this is some of the guidelines that DHS put out. I want to bring your attention. It may be a little tough to see, but down here it says, under access, it says members of Congress, congressional member delegations, and congressional staff delegations are afforded special access to ICE facilities. These visits are limited to members and congressional staff only, which excludes Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. And so then we come down here where it says facility entry requirements. ICE will comply with the law and accommodate members according to visiting hours and ICE detention facility for the purpose of conducting oversight. ICE requires at least 24 hours advance notice of an upcoming visit. So they were wrong. This was a surprise visit, according to them, to conduct oversight. And they were out of line. They were completely out of line. And this stunt not only jeopardized their own safety, but the safety of the ICE agents and potentially the safety of the inmates there. Not that some of us care all that much about their safety, but they broke the law. They broke the rules. They didn't follow any of the rules when it came to conducting oversight, but they broke the law as well. 18 U.S. Code 111, assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees. Whoever forcibly assaults, resists, opposes, impedes, intimidates, or interferes with any person designated in section 1114 of this title while engaged in or on account of the performance of their official duties, they are in violation of the law. Doesn't get any more clear than that. So between the video evidence that we have, the violation of the rules that they didn't follow, and U.S. Code 18, Section 111, they're completely at fault. And if any of them or all of them get arrested, if they put it this way, if they don't get arrested, then they drop the ball. DHS and ICE will have dropped the ball. They should have been arrested right then and there. They shouldn't have been allowed to tour the facility after that display. But here we are. All right, speaking of displays, I want to pivot to a different subject, and one that we talk about quite often, one that we have talked about recently, and we will probably continue talking about it because it is kind of an evergreen topic these days, and that is the gender delusion ideology that has just permeated everything. And these people just refuse to see the truth. They refuse to see, they avoid the truth like they're allergic to it. Just like the title of the show says, they are allergic to the truth. They break out in hives. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. But Versace clothing line, Versace. I guess it's kind of a high-end deal or whatever. I don't know. I don't own any, so who knows? But Versace is in the midst of a global sales decline right now to the tune of about 7.2% in 2024. And their plan to turn that trend around was to hire Dylan Mulvaney to promote their women's clothing line. Yeah, Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney, the dude who is cosplaying as a woman. Badly, might I add. These people, they believe, and I've said this many times before, they believe that men make better women than women do. That's the only explanation for any of this. Because the feminists should be up in arms about this. You know what? Do what you want to do. If you want to dress like that, be my guest, but don't expect us to indulge that delusion. And the feminists it's been crickets, absolute crickets from them. In fact, some of them actually are on board and will say, if you say you're a woman, then you're a woman, which is a lie from the pit of hell. So they have this dude, Dylan, selling women's clothes, and we have makeup lines, Mac, and a few others, I guess, that have dudes with beards and eyelashes selling makeup. I mean, it's just what it's clown world. It is absolute clown world. And Politico has a newsletter that they put out called Women Rule. And in a recent newsletter, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. In a recent newsletter, here we go. They profiled a dude. I'm sure you knew that was coming. But yeah, they profiled a dude. The gender-deluded service member suing the Trump administration. This dude cosplaying as a woman. He's suing the Trump administration because he is about to be kicked out of the military. And this dude's new name apparently is Commander Emily Schilling. This article doesn't say what his real name actually is, but he's served in the Navy for almost 20 years. But what this article fails to tell you is that he's only been cosplaying as a woman for like the past 4 or 5. He served the majority of his time in the military as the man that he was born. And he's a naval aviator, combat missions, and is the lead plaintiff in trying to overturn this ban. And the story is fine. Telling the story, to profiling this dude who wants to be a woman. Whatever, let people know. But this is in the Women Rule newsletter from Politico. They really believe that men make better women than women do. I mean, I think they hate women. I think they absolutely hate women. They must. They absolutely must hate women. And like I said, the feminists have been nowhere. If the feminists are anywhere, they're on this dude's side. And here's the thing: if dudes can be women, then what do women's rights really mean? They don't mean anything. If a dude can wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to grow my hair out and take some hormones, and I think I'm going to be a chick for the rest of my life. What rights do women have at that point? If a dude can come in and take the spot of a woman, take women's athletic opportunities away from them, what are women supposed to do in that circumstance? What rights do they have if a dude can just come in and take it? And it's not funny, but this next bit that I wanted to mention is is kind of humorous because it's just the theater of the absurd. Absolutely absurd. Like I said, clown world. And we have this representative, Timmy McBride. We know that his name before he decided to grow his hair out and wear dresses was Tim. He goes by Sarah now for ridiculous reasons. And he was he was railing about I'm sorry, folks. I just realized that I have been missing a bunch of chats, and I have just now resolved that issue. BZ is in the chat. Thank you very much, BZ. My beautiful wife is in the chat as well. So now that I have that taken care of, oh, BZ. Be accurate. I call it Kabuki theater of the absurd. Well, you know what? There you go. It is absolutely that. But Timmy McBride, he's, well, you know what? Let me let him tell you in his own words. Let me pull this up because this is amazing. It's not amazing. It's absurd. But check this out.
We're on our way to the House floor to vote on what is possibly the dumbest bill we could be spending our time on, legislation to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. This is ridiculous. And look, you might think that we're doing this because it's another opportunity for House Republicans to be sycophantic to the man in the White House. But the other reason why we're doing this is, despite how unpopular this name change is, they would rather us be talking about nixing the Gulf of Mexico rather than talking about how House Republicans are trying to nix healthcare for millions of Americans. They would rather us talk about the Gulf of Mexico than talk about how Donald Trump's reckless and erratic tariff policy is crashing the economy. Changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico in this economy? What the hell are we doing here?
What are you doing? This dude is upset about changing the name of a body of water when he changed his own name, which I would suggest is far more significant than the body of water that is actually in the Americas. North America, Central America, South America. The Gulf is right there in the middle. I would suggest that Gulf of America is far more appropriate than this dude going by Sarah. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can. Hey, dude, that's called multitasking. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And this is just another example of the left's war on truth, the left's war on sanity. And Trump was absolutely correct to ban men and women's sports, ban gender diluted individuals from the military. The fact that there was an actual need to define men versus women in an executive order is beyond insane. Absolutely beyond insane. And what's even more insane than that is the fact that if that doesn't get codified into law, a leftist president can come along and completely undo it. Completely undo it. Beyond ridiculous. And I'm not entirely sure how we got here, but it's a spiritual battle that we are going to have to do everything we possibly can to overcome, because this road, and I know that we're making a lot of progress, and we're going to talk about that, but this road leads to nothing but destruction. And you have other countries around the world that are reversing field on this. Over in Europe, there are a number of countries, the UK included, that's finally realizing that this trans nonsense, this so-called trans nonsense, is exactly that, is nonsense. And they're trying to back away from it. And the American left is plowing full steam ahead into this ridiculousness. All right. We're a half an hour in, and I still got a lot I want to talk about. But before we move on, let's go ahead and get a word in from our sponsor. And our sponsor for today is Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the country's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And they not only share our beliefs and our values, but they are actually on the front lines of doing something about it. And in this day and age, it is important to support companies like this and support organizations like this that do share our values, because we need to build up this parallel economy. And these Patriot Mobile is on the front lines. They're not only on the front lines and donating a portion of every dollar that they get to organizations that fight for causes that we believe in, such as fighting against Planned Parenthood, fighting against human trafficking at the border. They are right there, and we need to support them. And not only that, but their service is outstanding. When you call customer support, you're going to get an American, most likely somebody in Texas or Oklahoma. You're going to get somebody that speaks English, and you can understand every word they say. Unlike some of these other carriers that we switched from, that was just an absolute disaster. So do yourself a favor, switch to Patriot Mobile today and get a free month of service with the offer code Jackson. Defend freedom with every call and text you make. Go to patriotmobile.com and use promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson today. All right, y'all. I am Big E, and you are watching or listening to the Mission Ready Men briefing on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch my good friend Sackhead Sean on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. And BZ, who is graciously in the chat, with the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern. So please like and subscribe, share all these guys' great shows. We are, I believe, what are we, 32 away from 500 now? We had a nice surge in subscriptions to the YouTube channel. So thank you all for doing that. Again, go ahead and share this with everyone you know, and get them to subscribe so that we can grow this channel and reach as many more people, as many people as we possibly can. So do that, and also pray for us so we can have that breakthrough. And again, reach as many people as we possibly can. BZ says we're at 38. We're 38 away. So thank you all for that. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled programming. And I said I was going to get into this a little deeper, and I am, because we're making progress, but the American family is still in crisis. And it's not just because of economics. It's not just because of bad policy. All those things are factors, to be sure. But it's because we have abandoned the God-prescribed design for the family. The U.S. leads the developed world in single-parent homes, and that is just tragic. And why is that? It's because we've abandoned God. We've abandoned truth. We've allowed these people who are allergic to the truth to dictate policy. And we've embraced the lie that men's strength is toxic, that their leadership is oppressive, and that their God-given responsibility is on them. But Scripture tells a completely different story, one of covenant, one of order and purpose. And if we're going to turn this around, if we're going to right the ship, it's going to have to start with men stepping back into the role that God called us to. Scripture tells, it commands men to love their wives in Ephesians 5:25, and it commands us to love our wives as Christ loved the church. And in 1 Timothy 5:8, it commands us to provide for our families. And U.S. men on a large scale have abandoned that calling. They haven't gotten married, and if they have, they've just decided to do everything but love their wives, and they've abandoned their families and not provided for them, which makes them worse than an unbeliever, according to 1 Timothy. And the lack of fathers in homes, it contributes to the scourge, to the epidemic of gang violence among young men and young women, because they don't have a father in the home to teach them what they should expect from men. They seek validation on OnlyFans or in the streets. And that's tragic. The whole situation is tragic. Feminism. Feminism has been one of the worst things to impact our society ever. Feminism is destroying, or is destroying the family, has destroyed the family. They've redefined gender roles, downplay the importance of male leadership in the home and male leadership in society as a whole, really. What people fail to realize, what the left has hidden, for lack of a better word, from the American people, the family is the most important political unit. The family is the most important political unit. And getting men to step back into their roles as leaders in their families and in their communities is essential. It is absolutely essential if we want to restore stability and purpose within the family unit, which, if we do that, by extension, will restore stability and purpose in society at large. Now, one of the good things that is happening, I said the family was trending in the right direction, and one of the reasons why I say that is that the recent resurgence in church attendance and young men turning to the church, we've seen an uptick in the number of two-parent households, even in the Black community, which when I was preparing for the show, that shocked me. That really, really shocked me. And I mean, it's not like back up to what it was in the 60s by any means, but the fact that it actually is on an upward trajectory is outstanding. Let me just give you some numbers here real quick. 87.7% of children younger than 18 lived with two-parent households, married two-parent households in 1960. By 2005, that number had dropped to 67.3%. And the percentage of children living with two parents in 2023 has been measured to be back up to 71%. And that is the highest it's been since 1990. That's fantastic. I mean, obviously there's work to do, but that is a trend in the right direction. And the racial breakdown in the percentage of children living with married birth parents in 2022, for Asians, 81%, for white people, 70%, Hispanics, 55%, multiracial children, 51%, and Black children is at 33%. And again, that's not a huge number. It's well below all the other ones. But it still blew my mind because for a long time, for a very long time, that number was under 25%. So the fact that it's climbed 8%, 8+%, that is outstanding. And we got to keep that trend going. And so in order to do that, the solution is not more government programs. The solution is not better childcare subsidies or bureaucratic fixes or tax credits or anything like that. It's revival, starting in the hearts of men, fathers, husbands, future husbands. We have a job to do. Our wives need us, our families need us, our children need us. And our nation is in desperate need of a generation of men who lead with courage and Christ at the center. The breakdown of the family is no accident. It's spiritual warfare, like I said. Everything that's going on around us is spiritual warfare. And we need to put on the whole armor of God so that we can fight against the wiles of the devil. We were born for such a time as this. So let's rise up and take our place and build families, build communities rooted in faith, truth, and unshakable hope in the future, which is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to catch up on a few chats here. BZ says, in Limbaugh's Feminazis, if you didn't see the incredibly caustic corruption caused by excuse me. Oh, BZ, that was funny. And in this, Larry Elder, yes, Larry Elder has been very vocal. To avoid poverty, one must do three things: finish high school, don't have a child before 20, get married before having a child. Absolutely 100% correct. That will do so much to turn this around. That will do so much to turn this around. All right, I want to pivot to a couple of other things. We've got a little bit of time left, and I want to talk about some of these things. Here in Texas, Texas, I don't know what's, Texas seems a bit schizophrenic right now. And I think a lot of that has to do with the number of leftists from places like California and New York that have moved here, and other leftist enclaves that have moved here to escape whatever oppressive tax regime or whatever they decided to escape, but then they bring their same voting patterns down here. And so sometimes Texas comes up with some really great things, and sometimes not so much. This is one of the good things that has happened here in the state of Texas. Governor Abbott just signed a school choice bill, which establishes the nation's largest education savings account program. And let me see if I have that pulled up here. Yeah. Texas has instituted the country's largest education savings account program that's going to begin in the 2026-2027 school year. And it is SB2, Senate Bill SB2. And yeah, here we go. Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 2 into law. And what this does is it allocates up to $10,000 per student and $11,500 for disabled students in taxpayer funds for private school tuition, textbooks, tutoring, whatever education expenses are needed, which will allow parents to escape crappy public schools. And make no mistake, most public schools are absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. There are school districts here in Texas where students cannot read at grade level. Students, mostly minority students, are completely illiterate. And I think I mentioned a story, it wasn't here in Texas, but a story of someone who graduated high school and could not read, and then ended up suing the school board, the Department of Education in that state. How does that happen? Well, that happens, one, with parents who are uninvolved. And then it happens because the schools just don't care. The public schools are not places where people go to get educated. They're places where people send their children to get indoctrinated. And that may not be the parents' intent. That may not be the parents' intent, but that's what happens. And I talked about this before. Public schools go for up to 8 hours a day. Parents are working 8 hours a day. Kids come home before the parents get home. They may have an after school program or whatever before the parents can come and pick them up. There's 168 hours in a week, I believe. Take out the 40 hours a week that parents are working. Take out any activities on the weekend, sports and stuff like that. At most, parents of kids who go to public schools are spending, 2 hours a night, and then maybe 8 hours, 8 to 16 hours on a weekend, maybe. So out of that 168 hours, you're spending 28 hours with your kids, and that's being generous. And do you think that 28 hours is going to be enough to counteract the indoctrination that's happening the rest of the time that they're in school? And then hanging out with their friends where all that indoctrination is getting reinforced. And then once they hit middle school and high school, you can forget about it. I have a hard time understanding why people who obviously want what's best for their children keep them in these terrible public schools. And Texas is doing something about it, thank God. And I'm not even sure that 10,000 per student is enough, frankly, especially if they want to go to a private school and stuff like that. It might be enough for homeschool, which I am a staunch advocate of. But these public schools, these government schools are nothing but indoctrination centers. And get your kids out of these schools, please. Even with this bill, which I think is great, take that money and homeschool your kids, please. It's tough. I know it. I know that it's a sacrifice, but aren't your kids worth it? That's right, BZ. But public schools are government schools and indoctrination centers. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, there's a couple of us I want to get to, and I think I might have the time to do it. President Trump has signed another executive order, and it's a fantastic one. And I would like to think that it is relatively safe from, you know what, I shouldn't even say that because these leftists are absolutely insane. But President Trump signed an executive order aimed at veterans. And that is a subject, obviously, that's near and dear to my heart. Keeping promises to veterans and establishing a national center for warrior independence. Now, what does that mean? Section 1 of this executive order, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes where you can take a look at it. Our nation's security, prosperity, and freedom would not be possible without our veterans. Many service members paid the ultimate price, ultimate sacrifice. Many others bear visible and invisible wounds from their service. Too many veterans are homeless in America. Each veteran deserves our gratitude. Absolutely correct. So let's go down here to section 2. The Secretary of Veterans Affairs shall take appropriate action to designate a National Center for Warrior Independence on the West Los Angeles VA campus, in which homeless veterans in the LA area and around the nation can seek and receive the care, benefits, and services to which they are entitled. That's great. But the section that I really wanted to pay attention to yes, section C. In coordination with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and the heads of any other relevant executive departments or agencies, ensure that funds that may have been spent on housing or other services for illegal aliens are redirected to construct, establish, and maintain this National Center for Warrior Independence. Hallelujah. Yes, this is outstanding. This is outstanding. Why any federal funds, which is taxpayer money, was going to illegal aliens is beyond me in the first place. This executive order is outstanding. And as much as I'd like to think it would be safe from leftists down the road reversing it, it's probably not, because it means that they will take the funds from veterans and give them back to illegal aliens, which you know they love. They love the illegals. So this is another one that needs to be codified into law. And this is outstanding. And it still blows my mind that this had to be an executive order. Why we were giving so much money to illegal aliens is beyond me. I don't get it. I do not get it. Other than, I guess, the great replacement theory, which is now the great replacement fact. That's what they want. And that's another story for another time. But yes, this is outstanding from President Trump. Now, Congress needs to get involved, get off their butts, and actually pass this legislation instead of taking multiple vacations. Just insane. All right, one last thing I want to get in here, and this is somewhat of a fantasy, I guess, but there is a very distinct possibility. Well, there is a remote possibility that we could end up with a 51st state. A 51st state, you say? Yes, a 51st state. And we know that with the recent election of Mark Carney in Canada, that the entire country of Canada won't become the 51st state anytime soon. But one of their provinces has decided that they would like to possibly become a 51st state. And that 51st state, or that province, is the province of Alberta, Canada. And the premier of Alberta has announced a possible referendum on independence. Just like Texas has often been the subject of secession talk, Alberta is talking about possibly declaring their independence from Canada. And this referendum could hit in 2026 if the petition that is circulating gets 177,000 signatures. And that is 10% of the eligible voters in the province of Alberta. this is, I mean, it's kind of a pipe dream. A lot of political experts in Canada don't think it's a huge possibility. Just like the possibility of Texas seceding from the United States, it's always been a kind of a pipe dream. And whenever leftists get in office, that talk circulates more than usual. But so the same thing is happening in Alberta, Canada. Alberta is a Western cowboy country, cattle, oil, beautiful place, and I would love to have it as a 51st state. I would absolutely love to have Alberta as a 51st state. There are some Albertans that are not so keen. They just want independence from Canada, not really interested in joining the United States, and that's fine. But they, like Texans with the leftist government, they believe that their chances for prosperity are being stifled by their leftist government. And Ottawa, the capital of Canada, they enact stupid environmental alarmist policies that is killing the oil industry in Alberta, Canada. Sound familiar? It should. And just to illustrate the point even more, Edmonton, the capital of Alberta, to Ottawa is a comparable distance, is comparable to the distance between DC and the western part of Montana. It's pretty close to the same distance. And do you think that those swamp rats in DC have any idea what's good for the people of western Montana, or any part of Montana for that matter? Do you think they have any idea what's good for any place in this country outside of the swamp? Of course not. And Ottawa's no different. They're doing the exact same thing. They have no idea what is best for Albertans. Just like the swamp rats in DC have no idea what's best for Montanans or Texans or Arizonans or any other state in the union for that matter. BZ says Alberta is the powerhouse province in all of Canada. I would have to agree. I would have to agree. All right, y'all. That's it. I think we are done. I am out of time. But I will keep striving to make each episode better than the last. If any of what I said hits home for you, please take a second to like and subscribe and share this show with everyone you know, please. We're not just here to opine. We're not just here to opine. We're here to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope for future generations. So if you want some cool gear to help you spread that message, head over to missionreadymen.com, hit Shop 7 Armors, and check out all the cool gear. It's all about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.